And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him, streaming, throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. These are the words of the final stanza of one of the most famous poems of all time. Known for his melancholic and brooding poems, overflowing with charisma and eccentricity, this author's career spanned from 1827 to 1849, until it was mysteriously cut short. This week on Cheeky Tales, we cover the life of a poet, a lover, a weirdo, even a football team's muse, with a podcast biography of Edgar Allan Poe.
We're back.
We're back.
It's been a long time since we recorded.
It's been a while since we've been in this room together.
Yeah. When did we recorded?
It was New Year's Day.
Like-
New Year's Day. No,
No,
it was
it
before
was-
New Year's.
no,
It was
it
the
was
New Year's
well
Day
before.
episode.
Yeah.
I was at Movie World for New Year's Day.
Yeah, we recorded
Yeah.
before. So we recorded the week before the end of the year. And then we had the episode banked up. So we had the New Year's Day
Yeah.
episode and then we had my banked episode.
Yeah.
So what's happened in the world since we've recorded? LA's burnt to the ground.
LA's burnt to a crisp.
Trump's
Yep.
president and signed a bajillion executive orders.
Yep.
Yeah. What else has happened in the world?
I feel like I don't know what happened to January. Small business.
January
January's
disappeared.
gone.
I don't know if it was everybody, but I was busier through January at my work than I was at Christmas time, which is quite astonishing for a haircut person because back to school is like, but the whole of January was mental. Absolutely mental. People got money. Spend it.
And nothing else exciting happened.
Townsville's under about 2 meters of water.
Townsville is under about. Everyone's okay though. Businesses are back open again. Like pretty quickly, they're like, yeah, okay, we're good. Like the water's going down. If you can make it to your appointments, if you can make it to this, because obviously all the businesses I know in Townsville are hairdressers and
What other worldwide events happened? I can't think. Anyway, the next event up, Super Bowl's tomorrow.
Super Bowl
Yep.
is tomorrow.
It is my third child's birthday today, so happy birthday, Kian.
Happy birthday to Kian.
Happy birthday, Kian.
10 years old.
I
Whoa!
can't believe that.
Double dig.
Double dig.
Double dig.
So yeah, you got a fishy.
Yep, I
Yeah, I
like
saw
that.
that. That was
Little
cool.
Siamese fish, and we're off to Bundy next week to see the turtles hatch.
Oh,
For his
that'll be
birthday.
Yeah, that's cool.
that'll be lovely. Are you going to do the Bundaberg ginger beer?
Yes.
Yes.
We're doing the tour.
Yes, because that one I haven't done. I've done the
Do I need to
distillery
bring
tour.
something back for the next recording?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Anything, merch, pins,
The
badges,
distillery tour is very fun.
souvenir spoons.
Yeah, okay.
Hell
Huge
yeah.
bottles of rum.
Now, if you do look, I know you're not a big drinker, but the rum distillery tour.
Oh no, I used to drink rum, but it gives me heartburn now, so I can't.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I if you haven't
No,
done
it honestly does.
Old man savage.
no, I'm with him. I always
It
thought
happened when I was 22.
Oh.
It's not even an age thing.
Young man
It's
savage.
just something that happens.
I thought gin used to give me heartburn. Turns out it's tonic water.
Oh,
Tonic
there you
water
go.
gives me heartburn because I would get a gin and tonic. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh no, I got gin belly. And then I had a gin and soda and went, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we're starting to ramble.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Aaron, you got married. That
I
was
did,
one
yeah,
of the
thank
other
you.
major events that
Yeah.
happened. So
Yeah. Oh,
Eh.
look at that.
congratulations to you and Brie.
Shut up, man.
Someone had to downplay it.
It was a great day.
Got to keep your level.
Thank you both for being groomsmen.
Anytime.
Thank
Oh,
you, Cheesy.
yeah, it was a fantastic.
Cheesy had a shirt on.
Yeah, thank you,
Took
shirtless.
most of the day.
Thank you, shirtless cheesy.
He did not have a shirt on for most of the day before.
no,
Or
he
the day
didn't.
after.
Yeah, in the Airbnb.
Yeah.
That's shirtless the whole
He
time.
basically, I don't think I saw him with a shirt on for the first day.
That's brave too. I don't like. I'm in the middle
Yeah.
of this whole debacle of shirts and shirtlessness. Like when we are playing video games, I have a shirt off. But if people come to my house,
Yeah, I'm putting a shirt
I'm putting
on.
a shirt on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. No one needs to see
Yeah.
my
Even if
flaps.
it's like my parents or
Yep.
his parents, like
God.
shirt on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mm.
So yeah, no, it was a beautiful wedding. It was a lovely day, and
What
it was
a
a great
beautiful
party
wedding.
afterwards.
It was,
at the
wasn't
reception. So.
it? Yeah.
Great reception.
And one of the other things that I found really cool was the breakfast the next morning. Like, never really done that
It's a
before.
good
So
idea,
was-
isn't it?
was-
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where the wedding was, we all stayed in like little huts on the property, And so the next morning we all got up and there was breakfast provided. So it was just like a little continuation of the festivities. And it was really lovely, actually, to share breakfast the next day.
It was really nice.
And it was a chance for Brie and I to find out what the hell happened at our own wedding.
Yep.
Because boy, do you not know what's going on at your own
You
wedding.
never know what's going on.
It's just like, hey, I know that you've just started doing something, but would you like some photos?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you like to come over here and do this? It's just nonstop.
It's
Come talk to
nonstop,
these
yeah.
people. Or
Time for the first dance. Oh, time for speeches. Oh, time for this, time for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good fun, though. I definitely recommend getting married.
If we can find the video, John did an impromptu Cheeky Tales episode as his speech,
Yeah.
and it was probably the best episode of Cheeky Tales that's
Mini
ever been done.
mini episode.
Cheeky
Yeah.
Tale minis.
And I got some more mead out of it.
So, yeah. No, yep. I just did a little bit of a. There was the suggestion by some of the bridal party to expand that episode as a proper episode. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be done.
I mean, considering this is the Valentine's episode, we've kind of missed that
Is it?
opportunity.
Yeah, but there's
I
only so
didn't
much.
think about that at all when I
No.
wrote this.
No,
It's okay.
Like, hey, here's this super gothic dude that dies.
just
Yeah, cool.
another
Yeah, but
skipping
he's a
out on the
really-
theme.
Really interesting guy. Edgar Allan
Yeah.
Poe is a really interesting dude.
Yeah. I hope I've done it justice.
I have read
Well,
a lot
let's hear
about it.
about the Simpsons episode that this is based on.
Early life. Before he was known as the master of the macabre,
He was born
Edgar was just a little baby.
a little baby with
I'm
black.
just a
eye.
baby.
I'm so
Just
small.
a baby.
The little baby had like the black eyeliner and
Yeah, he came out just going, it's not a phase.
He came out with a Robert Smith haircut. Like he came out like with the Robert Smith bat's nest
Came out flicking a
with a
fringe.
slightly detuned Walmart guitar.
and it was
Sorry, Robert Smith and the Cure.
It
You
was-
ripped off Edgar Allan Poe.
he was a baby that didn't cry just to be different. He was like, I'm not going to be like
I'm
all
not
those
going to
other
be like
babies.
those babies. Yeah.
Born on January 19th, 1809, baby Edgar Allan Poe was destined for a life in the creative arts. His father, David, and mother, Elizabeth, were both actors, living in Boston, Massachusetts,
So-
which was,
Davy Poe and Liz Poe.
yep, which would undoubtedly introduce wee baby Poe to eccentricity almost immediately. It would
Wild.
also introduce him to loss, with his father almost immediately leaving to go buy cigarettes and seemingly getting lost on the way home.
Okay, not that. So not the usual loss that we cover that one of the parents seems to just.
Yeah. To be fair, different sources state that he died.
Oh,
So who's
there
to
you go.
say? And not long after this, when Poe was on the cusp of his 3rd birthday, his mother bit the dust from tuberculosis, leaving Poe and his younger sister and older brother orphaned. The trio would be split up between family, with Edgar sent to live with his godfather, John Allan, and his wife, Frances, in Richmond, Virginia.
I hope while you're talking, the shot when you edit is just Sean.
Just playing with his laptop.
Yeah.
Right.
What are
Gross.
you doing?
There's a gross bit on the bottom. I have to just. This doesn't have
You
to
can't
be
wait.
included. No, it can't.
Oh, it's going to be included.
It's touching his legs. He's getting the tism.
Stop it. Hyperfixation. Yeah,
It's
I
touching
can't.
my.
It's not that it's. I was just. I'm like, oh, that's gross. I gotta. Yeah.
touching his
That's
wings.
gross. Better only focus on this for the next 30 minutes.
What's the podcast about, Sean?
Edgar Allan Poe. Allan being his godfather's name, Poe being his birth name.
It was John, but John Allan.
Yeah, no,
Allan
that-
was his last name.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Allan being his godfather's name that he adopted from it, and then Poe being his birth last name. Edgar was
Is that
born.
how people do that sometimes?
Sometimes Edgar was born Edgar Poe, not Edgar Allan Poe. He was given the name he took on. His last name's hyphenated.
Is it?
It's not hyphenated. See, nay, Edgar Poe. He was
How
born.
did that not come
Where's
up in
the
any of
research?
my
he was born.
research?
He was born. You
didn't
just.
come up.
How does that not make sense in your brain?
I assumed it was a
Is that
middle
on the
name.
Wikipedia page?
Yeah. So
Aaron,
it's
just use the Wikipedia page for a
See?
source.
I know.
Edgar Allan Poe. Nay, Edgar Poe, as in like
there
his
you go.
like maiden. That's his like maiden name thing.
This is the first time I've not used Wikipedia, and look how it turns out.
Yeah, and it's
Everyone use Wikipedia for
You
everything.
always
so
give-
let's see.
You
His
always give me
parents.
crap for using Wikipedia. I mean,
Yeah.
His parents, David Poe and Elizabeth Arnold Hopkins Poe, and then he was took on by his bloody godfather, John Allan.
Bloody Godfather.
Elizabeth Arnold.
Elizabeth Arnold Hopkins Poe.
She has a male middle name.
Or was it?
That's not normal, is
She
it?
was known by Eliza Poe, though.
Maybe Arnold is a.
Is it the
What's the word
Godfather
for
thing?
when-
No, it's also one of her early names. So the whole family obviously just kept all of their last names, but then they
Okay.
got new ones. So
Right,
Elizabeth Poe or Eliza Poe's maiden name is Elizabeth Arnold,
Right.
formerly Hopkins. Was an English.
What's a word when a name can be used for both genders?
Arnold was born to Henry and Elizabeth Arnold and Elizabeth. Yeah. Are you talking about
Like-
it's not an androgynous name, but it's a
Yeah, like Ashley is a name that can
Yes.
be used by both.
I think you
what's
said
the
it, didn't
damn word?
you? You have
I
the
don't know.
computer.
I know, yeah, but we got to think of we're smart people.
I'm not going to research.
Gender
That's your
neutral
job.
names,
Yeah, I guess gender neutral's right. Anyway,
I'm gonna jauntily place
John
my
Allen was a
bucket to the
businessman.
side.
And also, we're not mentioning why we've got these at all.
Because there is no reason. We just have them. Put
John
it on.
Allen.
Do the bucket flip.
Oh,
Such a satisfying noise.
that sounded painful.
I threw it a little high.
Mine doesn't fit on my head, but this is going to be fun anyway. Because of the headphones.
Jeez, you flicked that a lot. That was like 3 revolutions.
Yeah, I just got a Tony
Hey,
Hawk.
that counts.
Hey.
John Allen was a businessman and would be looking to expand his business and trading interests in England in 1815.
I'm a businessman.
Does this
I'm a
work?
businessman. No.
Oh.
Reverb.
I was born in the dark.
Oh.
Sorry.
Bane,
Sorry,
but he's
you
just
guys
using a KFC
You
bucket.
immediately adopted it.
Amelia took.
Ah.
Wait, where did you go, Batman?
Sorry, boy.
Sorry,
We
you're
haven't
gonna
had
have
it-
so
we haven't-
much editing to
You've
do.
had like one paragraph out.
You're gonna have we haven't even gotten through how he got his
Yeah.
name.
He's still being born.
Sorry, mate.
Edgar would. I didn't even finish that sentence. John Allen was a businessman and would be looking to expand his business and trading interests in England in 1815, bringing his wife and Edgar along. Edgar would enter boarding school during his time in England, with some of his experience in English schools inspiring characters and scenes in his later stories and poetry. By 1820, the family were back on a boat to America, with Edgar resuming his education in Richmond once more. His teacher and schoolmates would recall in later years that he was already writing genuine poetry and was an absolute gun at swimming, running, and boxing, meaning
Nice.
Jake Paul will probably try and fight him at some point.
Well, he's old enough.
Oh, there we go.
Got him. Life.
If you'd make, yeah,
I cannot believe Jake Paul was the last one out in the Royal Rumble,
Logan
by the way.
Paul.
That one. They're
The
both
other.
the same. Who
They're
cares?
not. Yeah, they're the same person.
Tell you what, I Show Speed got cut in half.
Yeah,
You
he
know
did.
what's hilarious is probably 15 minutes before he showed up, I was sitting there going, there's just a whole subgenre of celebrity I know nothing about. Like, who the hell is I Show Speed? What is he? He's just a streamer. Is there really that many people that care about him? 15 minutes later, they're running him out in the Royal Rumble. Crazy.
So a couple of years ago, Johnny Knoxville ran out for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I've seen
It
that.
was great. We were watching that live.
Life wasn't all swimming trophies and poem babes for Edgar, though, as we already know. And that would continue through his teenage years.
But it's on.
In 1823, while attending a seminary, he would meet his friend Robert Stannard, whose mother, Jane Stannard, would become Edgar's first childhood crush.
Ooh.
She would die just 1 year later,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, you did not want to be involved with this fella. Seriously.
leaving Edgar holding vigil by her grave for days.
Probably properly cursed.
Yeah, this guy just keeps happening.
This man has got some evil spirit following him around.
He did have some good luck in love as well, though, meeting a girl called Elmira Royster and becoming secretly engaged.
Elmire. That's a name that you don't hear anymore. Let's
Elmire,
bring
Elmire.
Elmire back.
It's actually quite a pretty name, Elmire. I think it's Elmire.
Elmira.
Sean,
Elmira, that's it.
Sarah
Next.
Elmira Shelton.
next child. I can't have anymore.
Name my next child Elmira.
Yeah.
Like I'd probably be more leaning towards Elvira.
Okay.
She was pretty cool. Did anyone, by the way, did anybody chime in at midnight with the time code?
So Reese actually messaged
Oh,
me
right.
and he's like, oh man, I missed out.
Oh,
So yeah, he's going to have a shot next year to try and get the
I
custom
forgot
shirt.
about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
No
you
one.
forgot because no one did it.
No one. I wasn't even
Read
awake.
the description.
Oh well, that's okay. Sorry you missed out. More t-shirts for me.
Eventually, Edgar would enroll at the University of Virginia in 1826. Despite John Allen's business success, he was also a tightwad, giving Edgar just a third of the money he needed for his school year. Edgar would turn to gambling to make up the deficit, which we all know is a guaranteed way to make a living that never turns out poorly. As such, it was quite the surprise when Edgar racked up huge gambling debts and John Allan refused to pay them, leaving Edgar burning furniture to stay warm. Eventually, after less than a year at university, Edgar would drop out and return to Richmond. Elmira also seemed to have deserted him, not responding to any of his letters. On his return, Edgar would find that her father had been intercepting his letters, leading her to believe Edgar had forgotten about her and she had found a new love and married him. Ouch. So he's just like, it's a bit weird, I haven't got any letters in a year. And then comes home and she's like, oh yeah, you didn't write me, so I married this other bloke. Which seems pretty weird.
Dad being a dog.
Dog.
D-A-W-G,
dog.
Well, so if I'm the father of the love interest and I've seen this bloke's track record, I'm probably doing the same.
So tell me a bit about yourself, Edgar.
Oh, my mum and dad died.
My mum and dad are dead. This chick that I loved once died.
My best mate's mum, who was my crush, she died too.
Gosh.
Death is all around me. Like, are you going to make eye contact with me? Quoth the raven.
With his little heart broken, Edgar would enlist in the military in Boston to support his writing. This was a success, with his first book of poetry published in 1827. In 1829, he would decide that he wanted to enlist at West Point.
What year was he born? 06?
1809.
09.
And then 1820. So he was
18.
18. Yeah, not bad.
So he decides that he wants to enlist at West Point. And after Francis Allan, his
we all want to
pseudo-mother...
enlist, for sure.
After Francis Allan, his pseudo-mother, died in 1829, he would return home and ask John Allan to pay his way out of the military to enable it.
No?
Somehow, John accepted.
What?
Probably due to his grief over Francis, and Edgar would enter West Point. So he's like, hey man, I'm so sorry for my stepmom dying. Well, not stepmom, my adoptive mother dying. Hey, also, can you pay my way out of the army so I can go to West Point? Oh, okay.
Was West Point not a military school like that?
Yes, it's kind of its own thing.
Okay.
So the United States Military Academy of West Point is its own thing, which is a gateway to the United States Army. It's not actually part of the United States Army. It's just our military academy.
Yeah, okay.
Is that for officers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar to how the Royal Military College of Duntroon is part of the Army because it's actually its own corps. The Corps of Staff Cadets is the Royal Military College of Duntroon. It's its own thing, happens to go to the Army.
There you go. This didn't last long, as Edgar seemed to be developing a bit of an impulsive personality.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, who died?
I know, nobody died in this instance, and he would abandon his studies at West Point in 1831, leading to a court-martial.
His studies died.
Rip. Unable to return to John Allan, probably because of his shame, Edgar would decide to seek out his father's relatives in Baltimore, which led almost immediately to him being robbed by one of his cousins.
Oh, I was gonna say, is this where the Ravens come into it?
Not yet.
Oh.
Well,
he
spent most of his life hanging out around Baltimore.
Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that's where
I get to that.
Okay. Oh, is that actually where?
Yeah, that's where it actually comes from.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Yeah. Well, I may as well say it now. So the whole bit about the football team's muse in the start of the episode, it's one of Edgar's legacies, is that in 1996, the NFL were entering a team in Baltimore, and they held a public vote to be like, hey, what should our team name be? And Ravens won almost unanimously.
I was just making a joke, but no, that's okay, cool.
Because they had their own team. They were originally the Indianapolis Colts. There we go. Started out as the Baltimore Colts, moved to Indianapolis, and then the original Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore, and they're like, well, we can't be the Colts anymore, so we've got to be something new.
Yeah. So they renamed them the Ravens. And they had 3 mascots to begin with, Edgar, Allan, Poe. And now it's just Poe.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You can kind of see it when you look at the team, because it's like their logo's kind of gothic with like the little
the dark
shield,
the gothic lettering.
Yeah, they're like dark purple, like they're all this. Yeah, it's Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So he gets robbed by his cousin. After this lovely family reunion, he would eventually settle down with his aunt, Maria Clem, and continued to publish his poems.
Oh, so he's just living with her. He's not like settled down with her.
No. He's living with her.
Just the way you said it, I was like, okay.
No, but keep that slight grossness in your head.
Yeah, keep your finger on the ick.
Yeah, keep your finger in the ick pie.
Sorry, I feel like I'm getting very ahead of you. I have read a lot about him before because I find him really fascinating.
Each warning.
I'll take a big step back. Itchy warning.
Itchy warning. Was it itchy that I said? Yeah, it
Itchy was how it started because you spelt icky wrong.
I don't think I ever fixed that either.
No, you didn't. You also didn't fix that reel. It was at episode 78 when it was episode 90 something.
Yeah, because I'd have to delete it and re-upload it. Who could be bothered? It's so much work. And all those views are gone. He would also win a short story contest in the Baltimore Saturday Visitor newspaper, which would eventually lead to a position as an editor at the Southern Literary Messenger in Richmond.
What a name for a newspaper, by the way.
Yep.
What?
The Saturday Visitor newspaper.
It's really bad.
Locals not allowed.
Yeah, screw you locals. Only for people coming to Baltimore can buy this newspaper on a Saturday.
Some of those old newspapers were just unhinged.
And there's so many of them too.
Yeah.
Like every city had about 30 of them.
Well, the fact that the Ipswich is, like, even Ipswich's one, the Advertiser.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry, you're not going to have any good stories to read. It's just adverts. No, of course not. It's a newspaper. I mean, it's got a lot of adverts in it, but that's just not a great name for a newspaper.
I mean, you think all those people that would have been working in those newspapers back then, they're just influencers now.
Yeah. I was at my parents' house the other week and I was at my parents' house the other week and I found Dad had I was going through I was trying to find something, right? Yeah. And I was like, what's this? And I pulled out this newspaper and it was the last ever MX magazine. Remember the free newspaper they'd give you on the train? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, that's right. This existed. Yeah.
And they used to have the missed opportunities on the MX?
Yeah.
Is that where that
it was all the people being like, I saw this hot blonde on the Caboolture line at 10:30 p.m. and I didn't get to talk to her.
I think that was the only thing that come out of those things, wasn't it? Just all the...
It's awful. It's like Dolly Doctor, but absolutely trash.
It was so bad. So good.
My broken heart bleeds for you. My soul purge yearns.
Oh, my raven head beauty.
You got to do the next paragraph like that.
Hot blonde that I saw the back of her head on the train on the Caboolture line.
Actually, I might not do this bit.
Got off at Morayfield.
He would also find love, marrying his 13-year-old cousin, Virginia, when he was 27 years old.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. It was a different time.
A
gross time.
The age gap was older than she was.
Yes.
That's not the rule of 7. Doesn't work like that.
14-year age gap. Disgusting.
Half your age plus 7 years. Everybody knows that rule.
No.
Yep, that's a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, look it up. Sorry, Chiquitos. It's not that gross. Trust me. It balances out far better than you think.
I mean, my parents have an 11-year age gap, but Mum was in her 20s.
Yeah, as you get older, the age gap matters less.
Yeah, so you say 84 and 73 now, you're like...
Half your age plus 7 years?
Yeah, but if you're like a 60-year-old with an 80-year-old, who cares?
Yep. 50-year-old with a 32-year-old. That's the 7 rule. It's not so bad. 50-year-old with a 25-year-old, sure. 50-year-old with a 32-year-old?
Bill Belichick.
Don't want to talk about that gross.
Have you seen that?
Yep. Leonardo DiCaprio, all those gross people.
Ugh.
Friggin' Celine Dion's husband. Sorry, Celine. I know you guys have been married for a really long time, but it's weird.
So even though it was gross, they apparently had a happy marriage, but they were broke as hell.
Good on them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The family would move time and time again all over the East Coast, with some of Poe's work published in book format as well.
So we got stuck on the age thing. Did you say cousin?
Yes.
Cousin,
it's gross for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
Cousin.
But you got to remember that was way more common back then.
That's double dipping. Does it cancel each other out?
No. Definitely not.
It doesn't. It just makes it twice as worse.
Oh, gross. Some of his jobs didn't even earn him real money, with the book publisher
Monopoly
paying
money.
him Hey?
Was he getting paid Monopoly
No,
money?
he got paid in copies of his own book. It was like 27 copies of his own book.
Oh.
So he then had to sell them himself. But change was on the horizon. The Raven. As 1845 rolled around, Poe had written a little piece you might have heard of.
Good year.
It's called
It was a great year, 1845.
The Raven. Why? What?
I don't know.
And it's the one we all know him for. The one from the opening of this episode.
I know it from The Simpsons.
It was first published by the New York Mirror, and it quickly catapulted Poe to literary fame.
Terrible name for newspaper.
It also wasn't just called the New York Mirror.
No.
There
I
was
was
like
gonna say-
3 editions that had different names with Mirror
The
at the end.
Simpsons episode with the Raven in it. Was that
Mhm.
the first Treehouse of Terror? Can you look that up?
Treehouse of Horror.
Treehouse.
Treehouse of
Horror.
Horror, sorry.
Also, you're really cannibalizing my wrap up here. You've already done the football bit. You're doing the Simpsons bit.
Sorry, boy. I'm just hitting what I know.
Yeah,
And
well,
and that's
keep doing
it.
it.
I'm done.
Keep doing it. That's kind of the point. So, yeah, he publishes The Raven in the New York Mirror,
Mm.
and it quickly catapulted Poe to literary fame.
Mm.
He would begin to have his poems and short stories published in different national literary magazines and would be invited to join a regular gathering of New York's literati.
In saying that, though, I probably couldn't tell you the name of any of his other poems or short
No, you
stories. I just know The Raven.
But he did have some bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will get to a couple of
Sure.
them later on.
Yeah.
He would even develop a friendship with a lady called Frances Sargent Osgood, who many would assume was an affair.
Oh.
They had good reason too, as he and Frances would exchange flirtatious poems through the pages of New York's literary magazines.
Also, like the first missed opportunities.
Kind of, yeah. But it was like poem format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, he put one in and then she responds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like, I don't know. I would assume that they're not very direct.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Frances, you hottie. It'll be like,
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the poetry inclined to understand in the symbolism.
yeah, lots of symbolism.
There's the first, I guess.
The modern day sending an eggplant
DM.
emoji.
Yeah. An eggplant emoji. Just the first sliding into DMs just over the public newspaper.
Yeah, and publicly.
Yeah, publicly.
Yeah, it's like if you just posted on someone's Facebook wall, hey, you hot.
You hot. A little bit more cryptic than that.
Yeah, well. Thanks to his newfound notoriety, Poe was finally able to live comfortably.
Send nudes.
Actually, I was going back through our old episodes the other day.
Send nukes. Very good.
Greatest title of it. Hey,
So
you
good.
up, send nukes.
So good. Still the greatest title you've come up with.
Yeah. Banger. So he was finally able to live comfortably.
Trump, if you're listening, please don't send nukes. That's not what we're talking about. To play on words.
This didn't last long, though, as it seemed he entered a bout of depression.
Mm.
In 1846, the gossiping about his relationship with Frances Osgood would get his invitation to the New York literati group gatherings removed.
If he's going into depression, do we need to cover one eye? You just don't understand.
And he would find himself in a battle in print with other writers over some of his reviews of other New York writers. He would even sue the paper that made him famous, the New York Mirror, for the way he was treated by those writing about him. He would also report that he was experiencing continued ill health with the pressure of engagements, with others calling it brain fever. Clearly, the years of hardship had done some damage to Poe's psyche. So he's starting to hit a bit of a, hey, I'm upset, which, understandable considering the way his life's gone.
Mm.
The hardship didn't stop there. As the theme of Poe's life goes, as in 1847, the family would again be hit with the death stick, with his wife Virginia falling ill with and eventually dying from tuberculosis.
TB.
Yeah.
Or as they called it back in the day, consumption.
Yes.
For those that have heard that in media in the past and be like, the hell's consumption?
Mm.
Good
I think
example.
we've had-
Moulin Rouge. Good example. Nicole Kidman's character has the consumption.
I think we had to talk about that in one of our episodes.
TB, probably.
It seems this was becoming a theme in his life, with his mother also dying from the disease. And with his apparent familiarity with death, with the death of loved ones, he seemed to move on quite quickly. Just a year later, in 1848, Poe was talking to 2 women, Sarah Whiteman and Annie Richmond. Yeah, he a dope.
Hey, player.
And admitting he loved both.
Huh.
After a while, he would propose to Whiteman, who would turn him down. Heartbroken, and after a life of pain and struggle and loss, Poe would attempt to take his own life with an overdose of opium powder unsuccessfully. After recovering, Whitman would take a 180 and agree to marry Poe on the condition that he stayed sober. Unfortunately, he could not, and after learning that he had been drinking, Whiteman would call off the engagement. This guy can't catch a break.
No.
The final mystery.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because yep.
Yeah.
That was the hook at the end of the.
The thing with Poe is that he can't just have a steady, easy life. After his attempted suicide, he would move back to Richmond, where he would reconnect with his first love, Elmira. She had been married in the intervening years and unfortunately was now also a widow. She was, however, loaded.
Oh.
As her life had been very well off, before her husband's passing. The two would hit it off again and fall in love, with Edgar proposing to her and her accepting. Joyed at this change of fortune, Poe would write to his aunt Maria Clem, telling her of the engagement and letting her know that he would be travelling to New York to bring her back for the wedding. He would set off on a steamship on September 27th to head to Baltimore to begin the journey, but instead would head into the foggy mists of mystery.
Ship sinks, doesn't it?
No. Oh. After arriving in Baltimore on September 28th, Poe would disappear for 5 days.
The cousin's back. The cousin's got him again. That robbed him the first time when he got there.
Well, maybe we'll find out. Before re-emerging on October 3rd, he was found in a gutter outside a tavern, deathly ill, dishevelled and unable to communicate. He would be rushed to Washington College Hospital, assumed to be drunk, and was brought to a room designed for recovering alcoholics. He would never recover full consciousness and was never able to tell what had happened to him. A doctor treating Poe, Dr. John J. Moran, would write to Maria Clem detailing Poe's speaking with spectral and imaginary objects on the walls, with a pale face and drenched in sweat. Poe would eventually die on October 7th, aged just 40 years old. He was given the cause of death of phrenitis, or brain swelling, and was buried in an unmarked grave in a Baltimore graveyard. There was no autopsy done, and without any word from Poe, no official theory of how he would died. A sad end to a tortured life.
Yeah, right. That is a bit of strange ending.
And it leaves the question, what happened during those 5 days between him stepping off the boat and being found in a gutter? There are a number of theories for this one, none of which can be either proven or disproven.
Aliens.
Let's take a hit. Number 1,
Damn it.
alcohol poisoning. Potentially the most obvious cause of death would be alcohol poisoning. Poe had struggled with alcohol and addiction throughout his life and was even said to have been on a bender before moving back to Richmond. As we know, Sarah Whiteman had even called off their engagement due to his drinking, and he'd been found outside of a tavern, which speaks to the theory. According to his friends, he also seemed to be a bit of a lightweight, with stories of him being staggering drunk after just a single glass of wine.
What a champ.
It's like, what a champ.
What a champ.
Po. Oh, one glass.
It'd be fun.
Yeah. Life's too short to have to drink that much to get
Drunk.
pissed.
Yeah. Just one
Being a
glass.
lightweight is cheap.
Being a lightweight, yeah. That's why this expression, oh, he's a cheap drunk. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We're in an economic crisis, man. Cost of living sucks. Give me one stubby of VB and hit me at the door. I'm good.
You keep raising the taxes on alcohol. It's just, might as well be a cheap
Just
drink.
Aldi beer. I'm set.
It's also said that doctors at the time were known to use phrenitis as a polite cover for alcohol-related deaths. So it's possible that the doctors at the hospital suspected this as well.
Probably.
According to Poe's biographer, Poe had also had an alcohol-related illness, and his doctor had told him that another binge would prove fatal.
Which biographer?
I can't remember which one. Didn't write the name. There's like 15 biographers of him. Yeah.
Cirrhosis.
I don't know which one.
Was it cirrhosis?
He had become an active member of the temperance movement that eventually led to Prohibition. If you remember that episode, go check it out. Which backs up the claim that he was struggling with alcohol again. Perhaps he had a lapse in Baltimore that led to his demise. So in the last few months of his life, he was like actively part of the temperance movement.
Mm-hmm.
And then shows up outside a tavern, super sick. Maybe there was a bit of a falling off the wagon there.
Are you going to talk about his biographers?
No.
Okay, then can I bring it up?
You may.
What I mean by which biographer. So the most popular biography and eulogy that was written for him was written by a fierce rival that hated him and was the first person to write about his death and slandered him and called him a piece of crap. And he published it under a fake name, just signed Ludwig. Eventually, it was found out, hey, it's actually this Griswold guy that really hates him, and he's hated him for like nearly 10 years, and he's full of shit.
Poe did have a lot of enemies.
He had a lot of enemies, but Griswold was like, no, I hate this dude. So as soon as he died, it's like, this has happened. He sucked. He was a woman. Yeah. And everyone went, oh, okay.
I kind of glossed over it, but he kept writing like negative reviews of all these other writers in New York.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
It was
he
like
was
one of the
actually a
reasons he got-
critic, really.
Yeah.
Above all else, poet and critic.
Yeah.
He was a writing critic.
He was a writing
Yeah.
critic,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So he basically wrote The Raven and then was like, you know what? Everyone else is dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like everyone else was dog.
Yeah. Do we remember any of them?
Nope.
Nah.
No.
Remember that Raven, though. So the second theory,
Hmm.
election fraud. Another theory is that Poe was the victim of cooping, a voter fraud scheme from the 1800s where a person was kidnapped, drugged, disguised, assaulted, and forced to vote multiple times for a specific political candidate. The day he was found happened to be election day, and the tavern he was found outside was being used as a polling station. He
That
was
makes
also
sense.
found in ill-fitting second-hand clothes, which lends credence to the theory.
So what, they beat him up so he doesn't look the same to the people doing the voting.
And
Yeah.
change his clothes, make him go and vote again.
Because like he's obviously not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, give him a quick left, right, good night, and then send him back in. They would also, considering he was incoherent and seemed drunk, it's possible he was kidnapped shortly after arriving in Baltimore and then forced to drink and or take drugs before being forced to vote. While there's no definitive evidence to prove this theory, it certainly fits with the evidence that does exist.
Mm.
And another thing I saw was that it was commonplace at the time for when you voted, they would give you a drink afterwards to celebrate the fact you'd voted.
Yeah, right.
So if he just kept being sent back in, they were probably like, here's another drink. And he's like, oh, I guess I have to. Well,
So the 1800s democracy sausage, which is a democracy
shot of
shot.
whiskey.
Yeah, democracy shot. Let's
Yeah.
bring that back.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, let's. You want people in the polls, in the voting booths?
Especially in this country.
Give them, yeah.
Mm.
Have a beer waiting for them after they vote.
Bev them up, yeah.
Yeah, get rid of this democracy sausage rubbish.
I can't
Democracy
remember
beer.
the last time I got a sausage.
No,
though.
everyone keeps talking about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen
I
one
haven't
for
seen. Yeah,
5 years.
not at my voting, not at my polling place, which is a church.
Oh, democracy wine then.
Yeah, please.
Grape juice.
Yeah, democracy, blood of Christ. Like,
Yeah.
Thank you for
swing on
voting.
past
Here's the blood of
swing on
Christ.
past the pulpit. Hell yeah, man! Communion. I'll be back in a minute.
Five.
Sean's having communion once every 4 years. Good job, mate.
Safe.
God loves people who vote.
Yeah, I'm set. I'm set. It's repenting my sins.
Assaulted and left for dead. This theory centers around Poe's disheveled appearance when he was found, as well as a location outside a tavern. If he had been drinking, it's possible he was an easy target for people trying to rob him, or even just fighters out looking for a target. It's also theorized that, yeah, stick 'em up. That's like how they used to box. Like, yeah, that's why that's the
That's why-
boxing
yep,
pose.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop you breaking your hand.
Yeah. It's also theorized that he was beaten due to a run-in with a woman. In an 1867 biography, author E. Oates Smith states, at the instigation of a woman who considered herself injured by him, Poe was cruelly beaten, blow upon blow, by a ruffian who knew of no better mode of avenging supposed injuries. It is well known that a brain fever followed. Another author, John Evangelist Walsh, Evangelist is his middle name, wrote in the year 2000 that Elmira Shelton's brothers drugged and beat Poe to his death. According to his book, her 3 brothers had warned him not to marry their sister, and when he went ahead with his journey to fetch his aunt, they ambushed him in Baltimore and beat him. After going into hiding in second-hand clothing, the theory suggests that Poe attempted to escape back to Richmond, at which point the brothers caught up with him, beat him and drugged him with alcohol, leading to his death. While there's no direct evidence of this, it certainly is kind of compelling.
I just don't know if they'd chase him across the continent like that.
I mean, it's like Richmond to Baltimore.
Yeah,
He
but
took a steamship and it took 1 day. It's not that far.
Yeah, it's not very far. Yeah.
Remember that, like,
I feel like 1800 people were lazy. I don't think there would have been that much effort.
yeah, but they also only had to travel like 13 miles to get anywhere.
And it was
That's
the
a
most.
long way
And it was the most.
back then. Not
Richmond, Virginia to Baltimore is. It's still a bit of a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brain tumor. Despite being buried in an unmarked grave, some 26 years later, a grave marker was placed to honor his burial site. Poe's grave was exhumed in order to move his body to the new marker.
Oh, I bet you his skull was stolen as well.
Bet you there was a bird in there.
Knocking on the floor.
Chamber door, isn't it?
I don't know.
More.
And while it was being exhumed, the coffin disintegrated, spilling Poe's bones and remaining body goo all over the ground. When they were scooping up his body, it was noted that a solid mass was found bouncing around inside his skull.
You got a bouncy ball in there.
Boing! It was reported at the time that this was Poe's brain, all dried up and shriveled. Modern medical experts have posited that the brain doesn't do that, but that the soft tissue would decay away, leaving the hard tissue of a tumour that would calcify and harden. It's also possible that if Poe had a tumour, it would explain his low tolerance to alcohol and could explain the hallucinations and poor state at the end of his life.
Yeah, right.
It's also possible that a combination of these theories is true, as none of them disprove the others. There are also other theories, including rabies, carbon monoxide poisoning from gas lamps, syphilis, or good old-fashioned murder. But again, none disprove the others or have any conclusive evidence to prove themselves.
I mean, considering this guy's track record, I'm going to say, yeah, it is a combination of theory 1, 2, and 3 you just mentioned.
Yeah, I think...
He's had a brain tumour. His future brother-in-laws have given him a bit of a rough up.
I reckon it's the polling one.
After he's gone on a bender.
I reckon it's the election one.
Okay.
That's my one. Legacy. Regardless of the mechanics of how he died, Poe did die and left a lasting legacy behind. The entire detective genre.
Well done,
Yeah,
boy,
you.
with the sentence structure there. Yeah, regardless that if he did die or how he did, he
Regardless of how, he did.
did. He did.
He did.
200 years ago.
The entire detective genre owes itself to Poe,
Yeah.
with his story The Murders in the Rue Morgue, introducing the first fictional detective.
Ooh.
Poe's explorations of madness, grief, and the supernatural influenced later writers like H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King. The Raven, of course, is his most memorable work, with people forever remembering it as his most influential poem. Bands have set his poems to music, and even The Simpsons have brought some of his stories to the small screen with their Treehouse of Horror series. Of most interest to us, though, is his legacy in the football world, which I've already covered because I had to,
Yeah, sorry.
and I won't again. But yeah, the Baltimore Ravens, actually a reference to Edgar Allan Poe.
Not playing tomorrow, but we want their flightless cousins to win. The Eagles. Not flightless cousins, flighting cousins. I don't know.
They're regular bird
The regular
cousins.
bird cousins. The Eagles.
Yes, the Philadelphia Penguins.
The Philadelphia Emus.
The Philadelphia Kiwis. Right.
The Philadelphia Dodos.
Cassowaries.
Hey, did dodos fly?
No.
No, didn't think so.
They don't do anything.
No,
don't- yeah.
they're dead.
Yeah.
As well. They,
Regardless of how they
went
died.
extinct, they're dead.
And that is the story of Edgar Allan Poe and his mysterious death.
Hmm.
What do you think, Sean? You love Edgar.
I love Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in this life that I consider to be the original emos.
Oh,
Edgar Allan Poe is one of them. Frederick Chopin is another one, but I'm going to get to him on another day because he is very funny. Well, I only like playing in my parlor and leave me alone. Anyway, I love Edgar Allan Poe. I just think he's fantastic. I love that so much of what happened in his life was completely intentional.
Yeah.
Like, people dying is the unfortunate stuff, but everything else that happened was just, it was by design,
Yeah.
right? Like, he joined the army, lied about his age, and he's like, this isn't working. How do I get out of this? I'm just going to tell them how old I actually am. And it's like, oh, okay. I'd like to be honorably discharged. No, I can't do that. What if I make amends with my dad? Yeah, okay, I'll sign off on that. Cool. All right, I'll handle this. I'm going to go to West Point. This would be sick.
I don't want to do
I don't want to be
West
at
Point
West
anymore.
Point anymore, so I'm going to get in trouble. And it's like, I'm going to get in trouble. Cool.
He
I'm
just
gonna-
didn't show up for like a week.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and then it's like, I'm going to get found guilty. And the way that the court-martial system works is if I plead guilty, they'll slap me on the wrist. How do I get out of here? Oh, I know that I'm guilty. Everybody knows it. I'm just going to say I'm not guilty. And then they'll absolutely boot me out. Boom. Worked. Like, everything was by design. He was a very smart man.
Mm.
And he really knew what he was doing. But he was never suited for any of these things. He was a romantic man. He was like a curiosity. Like, he'd come from adversity.
He was like I said, like a creator and of like the arts.
Yeah, he's a
Like
big
an artist. Yeah.
He also feels so tangible because like we've got a photo of him.
Yeah.
Mm.
We know what
Well-
he looked like.
a daguerreotype.
Yeah, okay. But whatever. It's a photo.
What was the thing I sent you the other day that was like
It's-
these things happened at the same time that you just they
Yeah.
shouldn't?
Yeah, I love that stuff.
For those that are very curious about
God, he's about to go film nerd.
But what a daguerreotype is actually really fascinating. It's an early form of photography that was very quickly become obsolete. Even by the 1850s, it was obsolete. But sometimes you see these old pictures of like really old people and you're like, no, surely they didn't have a photo back then. We know the first photo of a human was taken in France in the late 1800s. How have we got a picture of Abraham Lincoln? They had like sheets of silver. They would polish it to a mirror shine and then like can smoke it with some stuff that made it chemically like sensitive. And then they would just like, and like put a camera in front of it and like expose it for as long as necessary. And it worked similarly to film. The darker it is, the longer it needed. And then they'd shut it off. And then when you look at it, depending on what angle you look at it, it's either a negative or a positive. It's actually really interesting. And when you look at a daguerreotype and you see it looks like a photo, like they scan it, what you're looking at, the dark sections, that's actually mirrored silver. And then the lighter sections are actually where all the chemicals. It's fascinating. It's very, very interesting.
Pretty similar to that guy that you send me every so often that does the like chemical
wet plate photography.
Yeah, wet plate.
It's pretty much
extreme.
wet. It's pretty much wet plate photography. It's really interesting.
But yeah, like we know what he looked like.
Yeah.
These places that he lived
You can
are
go to
still
them.
real places. I think 3 of his houses still exist. I
Yeah.
think it's Richmond, New York, and Baltimore.
Yep. Philadelphia.
Yep. Yeah, Richmond. Is it Richmond, Philadelphia, Baltimore? Doesn't matter. There's 3 of his houses you can go visit.
The Bronx, Philadelphia, and then I think there's one in Baltimore. There's not Richmond.
And like his work is still relevant now. Like Stephen King's still writing books.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of a tangibility about him.
And he did so much different stuff. Like his most famous work is effectively Gothic poetry and storytelling. But he also wrote like satirical stuff. He was kind of fascinated with like the pseudosciences and often wrote things about phrenology, the study of which is now it's debunked, but like they thought that the bumps in your skull could determine mental states, illnesses and things like that. And like your personality traits, phrenology, common thing. Like he did lots of different stuff. He was a curious mind.
He was a thinker.
Yeah. He's a fascinating man.
I feel like you've moved out of shot, by the way.
I haven't moved the microphone.
I was just trying not to make a joke about how we can see the bumps on his head, but not ours.
I got a freaky shaped head.
That's a bold joke.
Yeah.
I know it was.
Yeah. He's
Low hanging fruit.
love Edgar Allan Poe. Fascinating man. Hilarious, like person to sort of poke fun at.
Yeah. He's cool.
Yeah.
Like there's something cool about him.
Yeah.
Which is the most fun bit about him.
I'd love to have a pot with him, not a pint, because he'd probably die.
Well, he could just have some tepid water.
Yeah. Would you like a small glass of sherry, sir? Very small.
Yeah, but that's Allan Poe.
Nice.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Name's Edgar.
Edgar. Yeah, and that's this week done. If you would like some supplemental content, including a picture of Edgar Allan Poe, you can hit us up at Cheeky Tales on Facebook and Instagram.
Actually, pod.
If you are, at Cheeky Tales Pod. If you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can hit us up at YouTube at Cheeky Tales Pod. And you can, if you're watching the YouTube video, find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Get us in your ear holes.
Yeah, get us in there. Or your eyes, whichever one. Do the opposite of what you're currently doing. Try it out. We will be back in another fortnight with somebody's episode, probably yours. And we hope to hear you. We hope that you hear us then. It's been a while since I've done a wrap-up. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
Good night.
If you are a listener that has a small business in any form, we take sponsorship as low as $10. And we will speak about your business on the episode.
We will do that.
We will do that.
We're not afraid to sell
as
out.
little as $10. Like, if you're a big company like Squarespace, sorry, gold buy-in only. However, if you're a small business in Australia, we will take sponsorship for as low as $10.
We want to help our friends.
You know what? I'll take sponsorship for just me for as much as a 3-pack of Wicked Wings. So
that's
KFC. Balls in your court.
balls in your
actually
court.
got a lot of free coverage
A
today.
lot of free coverage.
So you need to pay us in Wicked
Yeah.
Wings. And I will not accept 7 copies of my own book.
Just 7 copies of our own podcast.
Just CDs.
Yeah.
What do I do with these? Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up. But good point, Sean. We are happy to sell out. So
Yeah. It's
yeah.
not selling out. It's legitimizing.
Yeah, actually, good point. Yeah, it is legitimizing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, Manscaped.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Can't demonetize us if we monetize ourselves.
Come on, NVIDIA.
can't be demonetized if we were never monetized.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm just shouting out to NVIDIA. Just got to
Shout
throw.
out
Just
NVIDIA.
gotta
Yeah, your stock,
shoot my
NVIDIA, your
shot.
stock is through the floor at the moment. Like,
yeah, you need us.
You need us.
You need this small podcast from Australia.
You climbed hard and you got boned.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
We will help you get back there.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, Chiquitos.
Night.
Good night.